The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2. This movie stars Jennifer Lawrence, Josh Hutcherson, Liam Hemsworth, Woody Harrelson, Donald Sutherland, Julianne Moore, and believe it or not, Philip Seymour Hoffman. This movie is a continuation of Mockingjay Part 1, obviously. It's about all the districts trying to band together to overthrow the Capitol and end these Hunger Games once and for all and start a new civilization. To start off with some of the good points, I was really entertained in this movie. It is an entertaining movie. And there are some really cool action shots, even though you see most of them in the trailer. They are a little bit longer in the movie and they're pretty cool. Also, I've always liked the overall premise to these movies. I've always thought it's very interesting. You gotta pull kids, mind you, from these different districts to fight each other to the death, and that's all just to keep everyone in line. I mean, talk about a dictatorship, totalitarian society. That's pretty intense. But that leads me into one of the biggest issues I've always had with all of these movies, and that's that the tone never fucking matches the story. This story should be dark. It should be dreary. It should be like sad. You have kids murdering each other, but they always Disneyfy it. They always try to make it for a younger audience, and so it's made to like, you know, it's all about fashion and cool hair, and it's just not as intense as it should be. A movie that got it a lot more correct is a movie like Battle Royale. It's very similar. It's about a society that's falling apart, and so they pull kids together to fight each other to the death. But that movie is much darker because it is. That's a dark premise. You can't take a premise like that and then make it all like happy dandy. It should feel more like Lord of the Flies, like just Now could you imagine if this movie looked more like Children of Men, where the society is literally falling apart and people are just trying to keep things together?
Our lives were never ours. They belong to Snow, and our deaths do too. But if you kill him, Katniss, if you end all of this, all those deaths, they mean something.
That would be awesome. And the story to this movie reminds me a little bit about Animal Farm, which if you've never read it, the basic premise is that you don't like who's governing you and you overthrow them, but in doing so you kind of become who you didn't like to begin with. This movie has a lot of that in there. Like in throwing over this President Snow and this government, are we becoming our own enemy? Are we becoming just like the people that we didn't want there to begin with? That's interesting. But again, because this movie is not dark enough, I just feel like it never really encapsulates that. This movie feels much more like a video game. Like, oh, we gotta get through the different levels and stages. Like, here's the zombie level. Oh, avoid these traps and these pods, and here's our little scanner thing, and it just never felt real. Another thing some people don't like about this movie, and even the last movie, is they felt like it was really slow. Like it's all a bunch of build-up. And then at the beginning of this movie, they were expecting it to start off right away with a whole bunch of action because the last movie was all the build-up. So why at the beginning of this movie is there still more build-up? I don't know what went into making this movie, but I think it's because of Philip Seymour Hoffman. As we all know, he sadly passed away. But I think they had some footage of him from some scenes that they were supposed to go into the last movie, but because he passed away and couldn't be in this movie, I think they chopped off the last one a little bit short and put it at the beginning of this movie. That way he's able to be in all the movies that he's supposed to be in, and they don't just ignore that his character is gone. Maybe they CGI'd him or something, who knows nowadays, but I think that's what happened. Also, I just never really bought the cast of this movie. There's supposed to be this love triangle, right? With Jennifer Lawrence, Liam Hemsworth, and Peter Dinklage, what's his name? Josh Hutcherson, but I've never bought it. You know, you never really see a whole lot of Liam Hemsworth and Jennifer Lawrence getting along other than in the very first movie for like a couple minutes. So I've never really felt that tension of like, oh man, she's with PETA. Oh, how's he gonna feel? I just never really felt that bond between those two. And actually in this movie and the last movie, it almost felt like they didn't really like each other. So why do I give a crap if they're together or not? And then Jennifer Lawrence's relationship with the PETA character, there's just no chemistry there. They're both fine actors. I think they act fine, but that doesn't mean they're automatically going to have chemistry. Just like in real life, you can have two people that are good people. That doesn't mean they're going to have chemistry with each other. Not to mention the last few movies, they basically told you that it was a forced relationship. It's all for show and all this and that. And they were supposed to be getting in there that, oh, maybe she actually really is falling for him. But I never bought that. And I don't think anyone else out there in the real world saw this movie and bought that relationship. And even the rest of the cast. Woody Harrelson, he's awesome. Barely in the movie. Julianne Moore, great actress. barely in the movie. Now again, it might sound like I'm just totally ripping on this movie because I am a little bit, but in the end, the movie is entertaining. I watched it, I ate some popcorn, drank some soda, and I was entertained. And that's all a movie is really supposed to do, right? But I'm not gonna lie, this movie gave me some blue balls. I never got what I wanted out of this franchise, no matter how hard I wanted it to work out. Alright guys, if you're new to my channel, please subscribe. If you're not familiar with my movie review system, please check out my movie review video. And Star Wars is less than a month away. Please check out my video on my Star Wars series. And stay tuned after this for some more movie reviews, if you can handle it. Go!